Hello everyone. So recently, a lot of people have asked me how to find a job in the engineering, particularly in the utility sector. Now, I have provided a lot of advices to them, and most of them are just following four rules that I followed when I was an engineering student myself. So in here, I wanted to touch base with you and tell you what are the four unconventional job hacks for engineering students. Particularly, these rules that I follow are the ones I follow when I graduated from university. And when I graduated from university, the country that I reside in has a huge economic problems as well, and jobs are very scarce during that time. But me and a couple of my friends who follow these same rules actually have no problems in finding out a job and a career of their choice. So let's talk about these four unconventional job hacks in this video. Now, for those that are entering their last year of university coming this September, if you are worried, I would start applying jobs now. And if you couldn't, let's say, find a job by, let's say, November of this year or by February of next year to get started before your graduation date in 2021, I would suggest you to consider extend your graduation date. For example, even though that I haven't followed this rule because I have found a job right before that I graduate and it is waiting for me right after my graduation, a lot of my friends did not. So what happened was they extend their graduation date until after the recession, or in this case, after the COVID crisis, and perhaps after the huge recession that we are going to have. Now, the time of your graduation is actually really crucial. And the reason being is that the longer time that you can't find a job after your graduation, the lower it is that your employability will be. Now, I do know personally a lot of people that have graduated before and couldn't find a job. A year afterwards, it's very hard for them to get back into the industry without other means of amending the unemployment issue that they have for the whole year after they graduate. So I would recommend you, if you couldn't find a job, let's say in by November of this year, and at most by February of next year, you should consider in extending your graduation date until the recession is over and when the jobs pick back up again. And how are we going to do this? Well, one of my friends that successfully pulled that off, and when he graduated, he actually got a really good job because the jobs are getting back out into the market again during that time. What you do is you could take fewer courses so that you could have a lower course load, or even take other courses of interest. So, for example, if you're an engineering student and you always wanted to know more about businesses or economics or even finance, take some courses of that, something that you interest. Because once you get back into the job market, it's very hard for you to go back to the university. So it's always, don't be so in haste in graduating from university. Especially don't be in haste in graduating into a recession. Now, a couple of recommendations that I wanted to make in taking other courses of interest when you extend your graduation date is take something that is useful to your career. So, for example, if you are a electrical engineer and you always are fond of working in the tech industry. Well, in that case, consider taking some computer science courses. And not only in tech industry would this benefit, any industry that requires electrical engineers would almost certainly require them to do some sort of programming of some sort. And uh, um, for example, even for me, when I was working in oil and gas, or when I was working in currently the energy and utility industry, I always have to, well, not always, but periodically have to write code to actually analyze some data or writing some huge analysis for some equipment, etc. So knowing computer and knowing more about development or coding or software development process will give you an upper hand in getting a job when the recession ends and when the market starts to open back up again. Now, another thing for electrical engineers, particularly if you wanted to be in the utility industry, I would highly recommend you to take a few structural courses or civil engineering courses to be exact. Things that that actually would make you be an expert in, let's say, concrete materials, supports, foundations. Those are very crucial in the utility world. For example, when I started as being a designer in the utility industry, from what I've seen, I use more of my statics course in my first year engineer than actually my electrical engineering course. And the reason being is for a lot of designs, you actually have to look at, for example, transmission towers. Uh, you also have to look at poles. You also look at like sag and tensions of line designs. You also have to look at, like, let's say, the foundations of a substation. Many of that is actually being carried out not by civil engineers in the utility world, surprisingly. It's actually being done by electrical engineers. So if you actually are interested in the utility industry and you are currently an electrical engineer, you should be considering into looking at civil courses. Now, consequently, on the other flip side of the coin, if you're a civil engineer and if you're interested in the utility industry, take some electrical courses in the end too. If you actually take some electrical courses, at least you know the basics and how to communicate with the people that are running the electrical utility projects. And that would actually give you an upper hand. Especially, it could demonstrate that you are very, very interested in entering the utility industry. Now, of course, when during a normal era or normal time, you don't really need to take these extra courses. You could actually just graduate it in 4 years and, or 5 years, including co-op or internship, and just get a job. But nowadays, we are in a recession, we're in a crisis. So the best way to do this is to extend it to where at a time it's more advantageous to you, and it's best to actually be taking advantage of this time to either enjoy your school life and to take other courses that you're interested in and you know for a fact that it would help you out in your future career. Now, job hack number 2, and this is actually the one that I use myself, and also I've recommended a lot to other people, and they have successfully leveraged this in order for them to find a very good internship as well as a very good full-time job afterwards. And this job hack is finding research work. Now, what you need to do is you need to research the portfolio of your professors within your university and cold call them, any professor that you think their research is relevant to your career path, and ask if you can work under them. Now, many of them would actually say that they don't have any funding, or that you're not legible to get any grants for them. Now, if you can get grants for them, of course that they'll have you on board in no time. However, though, there are times when you're just an average student, you don't have that spectacular of a GPA, and It's just that you just couldn't get any grants. So what do you do? Well, what you should do is you should just cold call them saying that you are interested in working with them anyways, and you're offer them to even work just to be a co-author of one of the publication. And if they don't even want that, just even offer them to work for them for free anyways. Because the point is here is not to earn money, right? The point is to create experience so that you can write something in your resume. You what like if for example, if you're a cashier in a supermarket, of course that you could earn money, right? Or you're part of a associate in a retail shop. But in this case, we are trying to create experience that is relevant for your career path so that you could write it in your resume so that your future employer will look at your resume and say, okay, so this guy actually have something. And this something maybe actually is way better than the 95% of your fellow students during that time who's fighting for the same job. So in this case, this particular research work might be crucial for your future career. And on top of that, these professors might even have connections to the industry that might allow you to get jobs. I know for a fact of several people where they got jobs because their professors have industry related research which they have private connections to the executives of major energy companies and major engineering firms. And these professors, because they like the students who are under their research, they actually call them and got them hooked up to jobs. So in this sense, be sure to contact your professors, reach out to your professor and see whether or not you can take part of these research work. And I know that in university, when you're getting like a lot of courses, especially in engineering, and you're not taking on my job hack one where you want to extend your graduation date, you probably have 5 or 6 or even 7 courses per semester. So it's going to be really hard for you to do another job. However, though, research work, usually the schedule is very, very, very flexible. So for me, I did actually research work for actually, let me remember, it's around 1.5 years or 2 years. And during that time, I rarely go into the lab where the professor is. Maybe like, 2, maybe 3 hours a week in general. And I could be there anytime. I just need to show up and report to him, well, and show him what have I done for the research. And most of the time I just email them back and forth. So in this case, like it's going to be really flexible. In fact, during that time, I actually did like almost a full course load for the entire term of being a research student under this person. Now, and the benefit of that is if the professor or the guy actually likes you enough, they would actually volunteer to add your name into their research paper. So there's actually a lot of benefits into doing this. So I would highly recommend you to try this one out. Now, if you're currently applying for jobs and you're actually getting interviews, I have to say congratulations to you because right now it's actually a very, very, very hard time to get interviews, let alone jobs. So, you know what? To actually do good in interviews, to actually ace the interview in order to get the job of your dreams, I would recommend you to go ahead and visit this particular information product, which is the job interview answers. Now, this particular product has word for word exactly of what you need to say to get hired. It includes the word-to-word answers to all of the behavioral and competency-based interview questions. Now, you might question that these behavioral questions are different from company to company. However, though, my experience tells me that they are actually following the same thing. Like they would ask you almost the same questions 95% of the time, regardless of which company that they interview you. Because behavioral questions and competency-based questions, they usually have a very, very well-defined structure already. And they are very, very predictable. But this predictability you need to know in order to get a upper hand. So if you got an interview coming, or you are applying to jobs currently and are anticipating interviews, which you should be, then considering this particular info product. Now, if you're interested, please consider in visiting it by clicking on the link in this particular video description. So now on to job hack number 3. Now, job hack number 3, you might have heard of this keyword a lot of times, and this is the word network. Now, this may sound traditional, but what I meant in this case specifically is joining and becoming an active member of your student engineering societies, such as like IEEE and etc. And what I meant by becoming an active member is not just hosting these events or becoming an executive member or a treasurer or anything like that. But specifically, you need to position yourself to be the one who outreaches to the companies to host guest talk events, to do interviews with them, or to do site tours, etc. The point is to have access to the influencers and the top executives in the industry of your choice. Now, in this case, even if your society is not that active, and um, you know, I know by experience that a lot of these societies don't. Like some of these societies only are there because of social events among the students, right? It's just like a social atmosphere to hang out. However, though, you could actually propose to have these particular events as the idea of your own for the society, and you also take up the initiative in making that happen. And the point is to create a reason for you to connect with the influencers and the top executives in the industry in which you're aiming your career at. And by having a connection with them, it'll be easier for you to reach out to them when you need a job in the industry. And this actually works really, really well. Trust me. Now, another thing for networking is make sure to reach out among your friends and family members as well. For example, a person has reached out to me a few weeks ago that I know through a volunteering organization because his son couldn't find a job after graduating from university in electrical engineering. Now, what happened was I connected his son with a small engineering firm, and now he works in that firm as an engineer in training. Now, there are still a lot of firms that are drowning in projects. However, though, they are really, really small and they never, ever post jobs on job boards. So even though that the market is really, really bad out there, there are still jobs out there in which nobody else is actually applying because nobody knows them. And these companies don't even bother to post jobs into job boards. So don't give up. Reach out, connect with families, friends, families, etc. Never give up. Try to search every single dark corner that you can find for jobs, because who knows, somebody might have a connection to a 5-member company where they actually in dire need of a engineer in training or just a entry-level position for you. Now, there are also places that are willing to even have you on board as part-time just to do minor engineering tasks while you're in school too. So if you are going into your last year or your third year, be sure to start checking these out. Try to contact the temporary agencies and try to reach out with professors and families and friends, etc., just to see what are the opportunities out there. Remember, even though that you want to extend your graduation date in order to make it advantageous for you to launch your career once you graduate, it's never too soon to actually start looking now, because first of all, you can always work part-time. Second of all, you could defer your start date as well. So now my hint for you with this is, if you are extending your graduation date, try to do all of your core courses first, but don't sign up for graduation. That way, you can always, when you find a job, just say, okay, I'm graduating in the next semester or in the end of this semester. You could graduate anytime, because the other courses that you're interested in, you don't really necessarily need to complete it anyways, right? So, in a sense, try to get all of your core courses done, but be sure to keep on looking for networking opportunities and keeping on looking for job opportunities while you are in school. Now, the last job hack is one of the most valuable as well, which is create or joining projects. Now, you could actually create your own experience uh, when you are actually doing a project of your own. Therefore, you could actually say that, one, you're passionate about the industry that you are going into and you're marketing it to your employer or your future employer. And two, you're creating experience. You're not just sitting there waiting for the next thing to happen, which is someone to contact you for a job. You are actually helping the industry pushing forward by working on projects non-stop. So example of projects that you can do is, for example, creating an app, doing engineering calculations that are relating to your future career. You could create dashboards out of Tableau or Power BI using open data about your industry, and as well as you could actually create reports just on random engineering research and findings that you have, or just curate some content. Either way, just start something relating to the industry that you want to be in. What you want to do is, you want to be some sort of leader. You want to take initiative. You want to show passion of this industry, because what you want to do in ultimately is to crush your competition when you're out there trying to look for jobs once you graduate. Now, I also recommend you to join other projects as well, because joining other projects actually makes you having experience as a team player, as a person who likes to contribute in a team. And this is very important when you're working in the real business world, because in general, you are never going to be working as a lone wolf. You always have to work in teams in some sort of form or another. So I would recommend you to either joining something like Engineering Without Borders, or other engineering student association that like the solar car team or whatsoever, just to get some team experience. Or if you want to look outside of the school, just to get more outreach for, again, for job hack number 3 in networking, join some meetups, like with meetup.com, for example. I especially like to join, like, for example, social entrepreneurship meetups, or civic tech meetups, or, like, let's say meetup for tech in general, if you're interested in the tech industry, just so that you can actually be open out to other people, to network, but also to see if there's any projects that other people are working on right now that you could join up. And some of these projects, they actually are doing seed funding as well. So you may actually have some cash giving back to you, just to do some minor jobs regarding to those. So in a sense, like, I would recommend you to reach out, either create your own project or join other projects, or doing both as well, just to build up your portfolio, build up your experience. So in conclusion, I hope that you would follow all four of these job hacks, and I wish you to have a very good career in your future. Thank you.